great to be joined by this man, Tanner Kern. He's out there on the East Coast doing a tremendous job, taking a look on so many fronts. Does a tremendous job on the baseball front end. We're going to hit that right now, and in 15 minutes, we're going to be hitting some football with him as well. Tanner, it's always great to have you aboard. Thank you.
Greg, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Always appreciate you, and I'm sure that you are very appreciative of your Boston Red Sox getting a sweep over the New York Yankees, as I would say you caught the Yankees at the right time because, man, it's not good to say the least. The only thing that is good for the New York Yankees is they have an off day on the schedule, and I think the off day is laying a run and a half against the New York Yankees on Monday, which that's the way that is going for them right now. The Red Sox, they are not laying a run and a half in this game against the Houston Astros. They're a slight underdog, as the Astros are going to be trotting out their Christian Javier. Meanwhile, James Paxton on the bump for Boston. Boston about a plus 108 to a plus 115 underdog. Minus 123 to minus 135, the number on the Houston. How do you view this one? Because with Christian Javier, guy that I had high expectations for coming into the year, but he just has fallen a little bit flat. And for the Red Sox, Paxton hasn't been quite the same on the road as he has been at home as well.
The Red Sox play good against good teams, so I'm not super concerned about them in the spot. I actually like them with the plus money here. I think this game should be closer to a pick 'em with the pitching matchup. I really do like Paxton in the spot, and I don't necessarily love Christian Javier. When you look at Boston's record against teams above 500, they're 33-32 against. They've been delivering in spots like this. James Paxton going to pitch 7-3 with a 3.34 ERA and a 1.14 WHIP. He's been very good in his past 5 starts. I would say 4 of the 5. He got lit up by the Toronto Blue Jays at Fenway a couple weeks ago. But other than that, he's been very good, and he did battle in that game, so that's something to take away from it. And then on the other side, you got Christian Javier going 4.49 with a 1.23 WHIP. He is an overpowering strikeout pitcher, and he's coming off a really bad start against the Marlins, so not a lot of momentum coming into this series. The Seattle Mariners absolutely beat up the Houston Astros in their last series. So when I look at momentum coming into this spot, it definitely belongs to the Boston Red Sox here. Also look for Rafael Devers to continue to stay hot. He was 9 of 13 in the Yankee series with 2 home runs. So absolutely blasting the cover off the baseball. I think Boston stays hot here, and if they have a game that they're more likely to pick up a win, it's definitely going to be the opener with James Paxton on the mound against a up-and-down Christian Javier.
Yeah, with Christian Javier, his strikeout numbers are way down from what they were last year as well. And I think that the over of 8.5 is looking pretty tasty to me as well with that. So we're going to be diving in there. And then we've got the Cubs and the Detroit Tigers with Alex Faedo going for the Tigers and Javier Assad is going for the Cubs. And a relatively sneaky pitching matchup. Ever since Assad has been trotted out there as a starter, he's actually been really good. And Alex Faedo, since he's resurfaced at the big league level since the All-Star break, he's actually been able to do halfway decent as well. Look at the sign, and I think that's a little bit too high. But with the way that this Cubs team is playing, I'm not sure if you can go against them. I cannot.
Not for a money line price of minus 135 here. I definitely can't. At this point in the season, we need to look at motivation when we're betting. And the Cubs are 1 game above the Diamondbacks for that final wild card spot in the National League. They need to play very good baseball down the stretch just to make it into the playoffs. While the Tigers are 12 games out of the final wild card spot in the American League. They're done. They're on to 2024. So off motivation, you got to go with the Cubs in this spot. And they do have a pitching advantage with Javier Assad on the mound. 2-2 this season with the 3.1 ERA and a 1.25 WHIP. And opponents are batting just 192 off him on the road this season, so you got to love that. The Tigers don't have a great offense by any means. I really do think Assad's going to have a big day. Alex Faedo, I'm not that confident in him. He's actually a really interesting pitcher because he probably has the best whip of all time. He's got a sub-1 whip with the highest ERA of 5.16. So I just don't know how you can put those two numbers together. He's a pitcher that gives up a ton of home runs, and his ERA is also even worse at home with the 6.16. He could surprise. I'm not saying he's not going to surprise here. I think he's going to be okay. But the fact of the matter is I do think he makes a few mistakes, and the Chicago Cubs are good enough to take advantage of those mistakes. So for minus 135 on the money line here, the way the Cubs have been playing with their motivation coming into this game, I think it's a no-brainer bet to take Chicago.
Yep, I think that our good friend in Faedo can do enough to be able to keep this sign under, but I'm right there with you on the Cubs. By the way, the Tigers, they might not be close to the playoffs, but they're fewer games out of the AL Central than the Yankees are for that final wild card spot. So they're actually closer to the playoffs right now than the New York Yankees, as insane as that is. As Tanner Kern, he does tremendous work over at DraftKings. He's joining me right here on the Greg Peterson Experience, break down the Monday baseball card. And this is what I find to be interesting. You've got a White Sox team that They put up an uncharacteristic 7 spot in the 8th inning against the Colorado Rockies on Sunday. Now they have to return home to play against the Seattle Mariners and Luis Castillo, with Seattle finding them between minus 175 to minus 185. That run line is more around about a minus 110. And with Touki Toussaint on the bump for the Chicago White Sox, they're more around about a plus 160 with a total of 9. And I always take a look at these spots with these teams coming away from elevation. And typically, their depth perception, the way that they're viewing the ball is a little bit less. And Luis Castillo is nasty the way that it is. I think that this is going to be a spot where the White Sox, they don't score a lot of runs, and I do think that the Seattle Mariners, who are as hot as lava right now, should be able to continue that.
The 7 spot on Sunday was definitely a rarity. They need elevation to score. That's how bad the Chicago White Sox lineup is. The Mariners coming to this game with a lot of momentum here. They've won 6 straight. They swept the Astros, and they beat them in every way possible. They won a pitching battle. They won a high-scoring offensive battle, and they also blew them off the field. So really confident in this Mariners team right now. The advantage against the White Sox is staggering. They're on the road as well, so they do have the guaranteed 9 at-bats, another reason to lean towards the run line in this spot. And they should have no problem hitting Touki Toussaint. I mean, Toussaint's 1-5. He's got a 4.47 ERA, a whip right around 1.5. He's been good at home, but his issue this season is the walks. He's going to give Mariners a lot of extra opportunities, I think, in this game, and they're good enough to take advantage of them. Julio Rodriguez and company has been hitting the baseball like crazy in the past 6 games as well, so it's a reason to lean with them there. And then Luis Castillo should get the job done on the mound for Seattle. He's 9-7 on the season. Got an ERA right around 3.2 and a whip just over 1. Elite strikeout ability as well, 166 strikeouts in 150 innings. There have been some bad starts on the road especially, but I'm going to go towards Seattle here. I'm not that afraid of Luis Castillo in this spot just because he hasn't been great on the road, because he is facing a bottom 5 offense in Major League Baseball in the Chicago White Sox that seems to get worse and worse by the day. So going to lean towards Seattle on the run line here, prime run line spot.
Yep, ever since Jake Burger got traded away for the White Sox as well, it has been even worse for a team that wasn't doing a whole heck of a lot to start with. And how about if we back a guy whose his last name begins with the word win? Alan Winans. He is going to be going for the Atlanta Braves. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly, by the way. A little bit of a newer guy out there for the Braves. And it is David Peterson, no relation, going for the Mets. Right now with the Mets, buying them as a pretty sizable underdog. You're going to be getting them between about a plus 188 to a plus 165. Lots of variance here. The Braves are more around a minus $2 favorite, and on the run line, right around minus 105. This Winans guy has actually been quite good. The Braves have actually won both of his starts thus far. I like his minor league numbers, and I do think that for the Atlanta Braves, they might have themselves a little bit of a picture of the future here.
Oh, definitely. I think Winans is going to be very good. It was originally supposed to be Bryce Elder. They made the shift to Winans. It doesn't phase my bet at all. It doesn't change it in one bit. I'm going with the Braves on the run line here just because of their offense. They have the best offense in baseball, and the numbers are staggering. They lead the league in batting average at 274, and they also have hit 234 home runs, which is 40 more than the second-place Los Angeles Dodgers. That's an accomplishment in itself right there. It's never a bad bet to bet on the Braves on the run line just because of their power. And this is especially true against a team like the New York Mets, who just have not been able to hit the ball that well. And they're going to face David Peterson, who's 3-7. He's got a 5.45 ERA, a 1.65 whip. Really, nothing has gone right for him this season. And to top it off, he has walked 36 batters in 72 innings. So if you give the Braves extra chances with guys on the bases, they are going to take advantage of it, especially with players like Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna Jr. It's never a bad bet to take the Braves on the run line against a team like the New York Mets. So going to ride with them for a very fair price, around minus 105.
Yep, I think that that's a good value there. And with the Atlanta Braves and how much they're able to score, makes covering that run line a little bit easier. And then how about if we wrap it up with this West Coast game? Hopefully these storms have subsided by then. It is going to be the Angels. They're taking on the Reds, as Graham Ashcraft is on the bump for the Reds and Lucas Giolito on the bump for the Reds, or for the the Angels, I should say. Angels right around about a minus 130 favorite with a total of 9. Where are you going with this one?
I'm going to take the under of 9 runs. I think you bet the trends in this spot. The Reds have gone under in 12 of their past 14 games. And Graham Ashcraft has been actually very good on the road this season, much better on the road than at home. And on the other side, Lucas Giolito, I know he hasn't been fantastic by any means this season. He hasn't been an Angel for that long, but he is a different pitcher when he's on his home mound. At home, he's got a 2.62 ERA and an opponent batting average of 184. On the road, opponents are batting over 300 off him. So just not a good spot for him when he's on the road, but at home, totally different pitcher here. Neither offense has been clicking at all. Shohei Ohtani is the only pitcher or only hitter that I'm worried about here, and I'm going to lean on the under of 9.
Yep, Shohei Ohtani going to be the MVP in the American League, but who's going to be the MVP in the NFL? Tanner Kern has a few long shots that he's going to be sharing with us next, right here on the Greg Peterson Experience on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.